Jim Jones is a tough guy, living a tough life. And for entertainment purpose, being tough looks good when you're young. But now these old people, what the academics call them, teenagers or senior citizens, they want to show how being tough gets you shit. But at the end of the day, let's take a look at this video, man, showing how Jim Jones is just losing the fight versus a grown man who is just tough by the action that he takes, the legal actions. It's crazy. In any case, welcome to Fisticuffs. My name is Noel. Over here, I just like to show how these imbeciles playing tough are really not tough. They told them to look the part. And at the end of the day, doesn't work. Check it out.
Jim Jones, he ain't been the same since Max been home. Talking crazy, and that ain't wavy. Must have forgot about the $1 million baby. How Jimmy let the game slip through his hands. Max having big meetings with Mace and Ken. Darn, Jimmy, you did bad. Them 40 boys back together. You're going outside. Put it in the comment section. Jimmy thinks he big and small's kicking indoors. Liquor breaking entry is against the law. You must wanna go to jail, rent's free in the pen. A lot of members in the joint go bang on them, don't.
You know, these are squatters. And he's proud to be a squatter. Like, whoa, you're using the law in New York City that in order to kick squatters out, you have to go to court. You got to do a whole lot of paperwork and then get the marshals to take them out. And unfortunately, I own property in New York City, and I'm going through the whole taking them to court, paying lawyers, and then having to hire cops, marshals to go kick them out. And it's hell. So what 50 is doing here, these are public figures. So not only is he kicking them out, but he's destroying their reputation online publicly.
Bang my door no more. No more. I told Sam, call Cam. Yeah. He knows how to get rid of.
And by the way, 50 Cent disses all these guys, and the only one he hasn't dissed is Fabulous. And I'm thinking he got a little bit of respect for Fab. And that's the only reason he hasn't said anything against Fab. Because Fab is a reputable rapper who got skills. You know, he's a smart guy. But then the other three, they just look tough. Period.
You. Matter of fact, get the strap. I'ma do it myself, Jimmy. I'm so sick of you.
And you know what? Let me stop playing the music because I don't want to get a strike from YouTube for playing somebody else's music. Let me just fast forward to the notice, the news that these people got. This is from a channel online, and they're pretty good.
Purpose content creation facility.
Look at that. He's building a facility in a property that's not even his. A rented property that he's squatting. Yo, the balls you got to have to pull that off.
Addicted at 50 years old is fucking pathetic.
But it usually leads to them living a tough life.
The whispers started as jokes, then the jokes turned into screenshots, and now the screenshots have turned into something far more dangerous because the streets are buzzing with talk that Jim Jones didn't just get embarrassed online, he may have just lost a major industry deal behind the scenes. And if that's even half true, then what looked like simple rap trolling just became a business nightmare unfolding in real time. This whole spiral didn't begin with paperwork or contracts, it began with pride, with words tossed across microphones and timelines, with shots aimed at 50 Cent over a documentary move that already had the industry tense. The moment Jim Jones and his crew decided to publicly throw shade at 50 Cent over the Diddy documentary play, the chessboard was set. And if history has taught anyone anything, it's that 50 Cent doesn't respond emotionally, he responds strategically. But those opening moments set the temperature because suddenly names like Fabulous, Dave East, and even Marlon Wayans were being pulled into conversations that started as commentary and turned into open tension. The energy shifted when 50 Cent reportedly reached out to the owner of the building where Jim Jones was recording his podcast. And that's when the situation moved from lyrical jabs to real estate leverage. A leaked phone call surfaced, allegedly featuring the building owner discussing Jim's situation.
But you know what? Jim Jones and them should have put their money together, maybe purchase the property, and not have to worry about paying anybody rent. Instead, they try to be slick and try to get free property and then just squad. But it's like, how are you going to make money long term? Like, these are grown men. They should know better.
And that audio alone lit a fire under social media. Memes exploded, timelines flooded, and the optics began to look messy. But what most people missed was the quiet layer underneath. Industry executives watching the chaos unfold and asking themselves one simple question: is this stable? Because when brands and partners see viral embarrassment attached to a name, they start reassessing risks. People on
No. You working with Pac for 30 years. You saw Big.
I'm glad the rap era is over with. You know, all the YNs, they know better. They know that this is stupid. And they're allowed to say it online, publicly. Forget the narrative. This is stupid.
Before he passed? Yeah. Bro, so you're close. And Jack, what were you saying?
In the documentary, there was insinuations of,
That's the way Puff is down on his luck. And 50's kicking a man when he's down.
God is going
If 50 ever luck turn up on 50, that you got to be careful what you put out.
Online began speculating that Jim Jones's entire run could take a hit after the lockout footage started circulating. And while he attempted to downplay it by explaining that the space was under renovation, that it was part of a bigger multi-purpose content creation facility in development, critics weren't buying it. He posted videos claiming everything was under control, describing boutique plans, construction phases, future media expansion. But behind the scenes, rumors began to swirl that the eviction process hadn't fully stopped. The visual of locked doors, lights cut off, and tense exchanges at the entrance became symbolic, not just of a building dispute, but a vulnerability. Then came the real turn. 50 Cent posted what he claimed were receipts, including proof suggesting eviction pressure was real, and even shared a photo standing beside the landlord, publicly announcing a partnership and stating he now owned the building. That single post flipped the entire narrative. The image of 50 Cent smiling with the property owner while Jim Jones's situation was trending created a psychological shift in the culture. It wasn't
documentary about you. You wanted to be a dope documentary.
Yeah, you gotta be dope.
Showing who you are, what you've done.
I don't know, bull.
You've accomplished. Like, a documentary is a big thing. Like, you don't want nobody doing a documentary about trying to just make your whole character look weak. Like, that's petty behavior.
And I want to know the company that did it so we can talk, you know what I mean? Because
it's not petty, really. It's just bringing down those on top, crushing the little guys.
it's on me, I need, you know what I mean?
I don't understand why that's legal to do though.
Documentary is more like a mockumentary, shit like that. How can it even be called a documentary though? Because you call a documentary when it's not.
Once you become, if you're a public person, you're in the news, you can be Google.
So do you think that is wrong or not?
I think it's wrong.
It wasn't just about jokes anymore. It looked like control had changed hands. 50 even declared that repairs would need to be made to doors allegedly damaged, warning there was no way out of the situation. As if that wasn't enough, footage leaked showing Jim Jones attempting to access the space, dealing with locked entrances and heated moments. The symbolism was brutal. Social media media began framing it as a power move executed in broad daylight. The phrase squatters even began circulating in commentary, and that's when the alleged industry fallout whispers started gaining volume. Insiders began hinting that a potential distribution extension and a brand-backed media partnership that Jim Jones was negotiating had suddenly paused. Not canceled publicly, not announced, just quietly frozen. And in the music business, pauses can mean panic. Here's where the alleged deal loss narrative intensifies. According to chatter coming from marketing circles, a streaming-backed content collaboration tied to Jim's expanding podcast ambitions was reportedly under review following the viral Lockout footage and ownership twist. Executives allegedly questioned stability, property rights, and public perception. Whether fair or not, perception drives contracts. When 50 Cent posted that he and the landlord, identified as Sam, were now partners and that he owned the property, it sent a loud message about leverage. Some fans laughed, others said it was ruthless, but business observers saw something else. Dominance. And dominance changes negotiations. If a company believes you're in a public dispute over your operational base, they reconsider commitments. Meanwhile, Jim Jones attempted to project strength, insisting construction was ongoing, that his vision remained intact, that expansion plans were bigger than ever. But timing matters. When you're trending for being locked out and your rival appears to own the ground you were standing on, it creates narrative pressure that no Instagram Live can fully neutralize. Cameron entered the wider conversation through ongoing tension with Jim, and the atmosphere felt layered with unresolved rivalry history. This wasn't just about one building, it was about perception, pride, and positioning in the culture. Some supporters argue this entire lost deal rumor is exaggerated, fueled by online speculation and industry gossip blogs looking for a headline. There has been
to rent it. And I said, okay, fine. Right? He's been saying this for since October. And so he keeps trying to build it, but he won't sign the lease. He's like, I don't like these terms. I want 6 months of build out and ridiculous bullshit. We also have a partnership agreement where half of what he's building now, his media, belongs to us. But he won't tell us how much he's making and doing all these things. So half of the content he's creating, if you want to buy that too, I'll sell you half the company. He's not a business. He's insane. To me, it's worth very little to nothing. But if it works out for you, I just throw that in as a sweetener. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is he signed a lease with me. Right now he owes, I'm going to say in a short way, at least $80,000. If not 180,000.
No official statement confirming any contract termination, but silence in high-level negotiations often speaks louder than announcements. When meetings get postponed, when conference calls reschedule, when paperwork stalls, insiders talk. And that's what's reportedly happening now. Talk of a major opportunity slipping away.
It's crazy that 50 is one of the only few rappers who decided to do a little bit of research to learn that what he was really getting into was the entertainment industry, therefore pick a character and build that persona. So 50, a tough guy, gangster, looks real. But at the end of the day, a businessman with billions, and now throwing his money around, getting people kicked out, getting his enemy trolled. So when you got the money to do all of that, it goes to show, man, all these fake gangster wannabes should have not pursued a tough life, because now it's crazy. And by the way, I'm pissed off because I had to grow up with these maniacs. I grew up in Harlem with all these tough wannabes and keeping a real bullshit. Like, they looked at me as the weirdo that went to school, got an education, got a real job. So what does that mean? They cut you off. You're the weird one, so therefore they don't mess with you. They don't want to mess with anybody who got a real job, who got an education, who's doing things the right way, climbing up the ladder. And now what? All my friends, deported, arrested. A couple of them even got shot. Crazy. So now Jim Jones is going through that. You telling me that he had a rap career and he saved nothing? He saved no money? He's renting and now squatting? That's crazy.
away because of optics and timing. At the center of it all stands Jim Jones, a veteran with decades in the game, now navigating a modern battlefield where social media magnifies every misstep. The irony is that this entire storm may have started as a simple exchange over a documentary move involving 50 Cent and commentary from figures like Marlon Wayans, but it escalated into property leverage, public humiliation narratives, and now alleged business consequences. The culture is watching closely because this feels bigger than a feud. It feels like an example. In today's industry, jokes can cost money, and money can shift power. The tension hasn't cooled. Lawyers are reportedly examining paperwork, ownership structures, lease agreements, and digital content rights. Some sources claim back rent questions were part of internal discussions, though none of that has been legally confirmed in public filings tied to Jim Jones directly. What is undeniable is the timing, viral footage, public ownership announcement by 50 Cent, intense online roasting, and then whispers of a paused or withdrawn industry partnership. That sequence alone has people connecting dots. And here's the most dangerous part. Once the narrative that you lost a major deal starts trending, even if unverified, it sticks. Competitors use it. Negotiators leverage it. Rivals amplify it. If this alleged setback proves temporary, Jim Jones will have to rebuild perception as aggressively as he builds content spaces. If it proves real, then this wasn't just the most humiliating 24 hours in rap conversation. It was a strategic takedown executed through property, timing, and public optics. What makes this situation even heavier is not just the viral humiliation or the alleged stalled deal, but the way the culture shifted overnight as if a switch had been flipped. Because one minute Jim Jones was promoting expansion, talking about building a multi-purpose content creation facility for media, fashion, music, and broadcast, confidently walking through what he described as a raw space still under construction, explaining that renovations were underway and that the landlord relationship was solid. And the next minute the internet was dissecting door footage, eviction chatter, and partnership posts from 50 Cent like forensic analysts piecing together a corporate crime scene. The image of 50 Cent standing next to the landlord Sam, publicly declaring partnership and ownership of the very building where shots were allegedly thrown from a podcast set, sent a message that cut deeper than any diss record because it suggests
it's crazy. 50 Cent went from being a tough rap guy to just trolling. Now he's like the top troll in the internet. That's a new game. So he's going all in, gangster.
Control, leverage, and timing that looked almost premeditated. When 50 wrote that Jim would have to fix every door allegedly kicked or face consequences by Monday, framing it as destruction of property, the optics became brutal, not just comical, and executives watching from behind polished conference tables began reevaluating whether attaching their brand to. This turbulence was wise in a year where stability equals profit. The narrative snowballed further when critics replayed the leaked phone call allegedly involving the building owner discussing Jim Jones's situation, because audio has a way of cementing suspicion in people's minds, even if details remain murky. And once that audio circulated, the online roasting intensified. Memes portraying Jim as locked out of his own ambition began flooding timelines, and phrases like squatters gained traction in commentary threads. Meanwhile, 50 Cent continued moving with calculated calm, letting posts speak for him while the industry buzzed with speculation about paused distribution talks and a brand-backed streaming collaboration that insiders whisper had been nearing final stages before the Lockout drama shifted perception. Nothing official surfaced.
And look at that. Even working out now that they're old men. I was like the only one in the gym when I was growing up, and everybody looked at me like I was dumb. No, it makes sense to try to make the better of yourself. And now these old men are working out. Yeah, way to send out a message.
No press release confirming termination, but meetings reportedly cooled, emails slowed, and enthusiasm dipped. And in the music business, those quiet shifts are often the first signs of retreat. Cameron's lingering tension with Jim Jones added another layer, not necessarily as a direct cause, but as historical context that magnified the sense of instability surrounding Jim's current.
Oh, they.
Narrative. When past friction resurfaces during present controversy, it creates a storyline that feels cumulative rather than isolated. Observers began connecting old rivalries, present disputes, and business timing into one sweeping theory that Jim Jones underestimated how far 50 Cent would take it. Because 50's history shows that he doesn't simply respond, he positions. And when property ownership enters the equation, it's no longer rap theatrics. its tangible leverage. The moment ownership claims were posted publicly, executives evaluating Jim's podcast expansion reportedly began asking legal teams to review clauses tied to production location stability, insurance exposure, and reputational risk, because if your operational hub is trending for lockout footage. Brands grow cautious. Jim Jones did not disappear. He maintained that construction was ongoing, reiterated that the space was evolving into something bigger, explained that he was in phase 2 of renovation, and attempted to project forward momentum. But projection doesn't silence perception once a viral narrative forms. The visual of lights allegedly cut off, tense exchanges at the entrance, and doors that needed repair became symbolic of a wider vulnerability, and symbols travel faster than explanations. Fans split into camps, some defending Jim as a victim of calculated trolling, others claiming he walked into a trap by publicly challenging 50 Cent over the documentary Move, involving Diddy and commentary from Marlon Wayans, and still others arguing this entire episode is exaggerated by YouTube. Dramatization culture. Yet even if half the rumors are inflated, the ripple effect remains real, because brands operate on risk management, not loyalty. Then came whispers that lawyers were examining lease agreements and ownership rights, that paperwork was under scrutiny, that back rent conversations had surfaced internally, though none of it confirmed in public filings directly implicating Jim Jones in wrongdoing. Still, the sequence was enough to trigger alarm bells inside corporate offices. Industry partnerships hinge on image alignment. If the image becomes chaos, hesitation follows.
Thinking about rap music, yes, I was a fan because I grew up in Harlem again, but I don't know any Dave East music or Jim Jones. Actually, Jim Jones had a hit in Mano. I have no idea what Mano ever said. Cannot quote a line. I wasn't a fan. Give you that much, but
insiders began describing the alleged deal loss not as a dramatic cancellation, but as a strategic pause pending clarity, which in corporate language often translates to cooling enthusiasm. And once a pause is public rumor, competitors exploit it. 50 Cent's role in this escalation cannot be ignored, because his public announcement that he and Sam were now partners and that he owned the joint reframed everything. Ownership implies permanence. It suggests that the ground beneath your rival's content platform now belongs to you. Whether symbolic or fully operational in business terms, that post was a psychological masterstroke. It made the lockout look not like a misunderstanding, but like a shift in power. And in rap culture, power perception influences respect. Respect influences leverage. Leverage influences contracts. The chain reaction is subtle but devastating. If the alleged deal loss proves temporary, this will be remembered as a brutal but survivable chapter. A cautionary tale about underestimating opponents who move like chess grandmasters. If it proves real and permanent, then this was not just humiliation, but a strategic business strike executed in public view. Either way, Jim Jones now stands at a crossroads where perception must be reshaped quickly. The next move matters. A major announcement, a successful launch, a visible partnership, something concrete must counter the storm. Because in today's rap economy, the most dangerous damage is not lyrical. It is reputational. And right now, reputational pressure is heavier than ever.
So the narrative is switching and moving like life. Everything moves around. The younger guys now are old. So the new kids coming on the block, they have a different narrative, all right? A different understanding. And like always, young people always feel smarter than the old people. And so they make different moves. So what's the new things that are happening? What are the new moves? It's just sitting back and laughing how dumb all these multimillionaire rappers were and how many bad decisions they made. And not just the rappers, but everybody who followed along with their narrative about keeping it real, about being tough. Man, I used to hate that. And I'm like, fuck it. Two worlds here. The stupid Harlem world that were always keeping it real. And then the college grad, which was really, really smart. And always making smart moves to better themselves, to make more money. That was the deal when it came to college life. It's all about making the most money. Now, I made the bad mistake of getting married a second time. Like the first time I got married was actually luckily good. And now I messed that up. fell into depression, and I said, you know what? I'm moving on in life. I don't want to drag anybody into my depression, so I let my first wife go. Boom, got married a second time. And then that woke me up like, yo, this is insane. Ended up breaking up, and I'm trying to get back to my first wife. And luckily, God is helping me with that.
This is nothing more than politics over public safety.
It is funny that it's actually working out. So God is helping me getting back with my first wife. And I can't believe it's working. Unbelievable.
And we as elected sheriffs are fed up with it. You don't see this many sheriffs in one location in the state at any given time. But we have to come together in unison to stop the ridiculousness that's going on up here in Annapolis, Maryland. And law.
All right, let's move on to the second video. Here we got sheriffs complaining about Trump and what Trump is doing to deport illegals. And how are they going to fight Trump? This is another stupid narrative. Again, the young people got to wake up and know that this is dumb. There's no reason to fight the president that we all voted for.
Makers need to wake up and realize Marylanders and the American people want public safety over politics, and they're not getting it.
Boy. So
Public safety over politics. How can the police be culprit or be the one in fault of not bringing safety to the community? When I was growing up, I wish there were more cops around. More, it would be less killing. When I grew up, people getting shot all the time. It was the norm. It was regular. All right, let's take a look at the Black conservative, what he got to say.
We got to continue our coverage of the story out in Maryland involving the local sheriffs who are now escalating their pushback, their revolt against woke Democrats, Democrat leadership like Wes Moore out in Maryland, because the Democrats are putting the community in danger on behalf of illegal immigrants in order to attack President Trump. And these sheriffs are fed up with it due to the fact that, first and foremost, the Democrats passed a law trying to ban local sheriffs from cooperating with ICE. The sheriffs basically said, we're not going to comply. We're going to continue to work with ICE. We have workarounds in order to work with ICE. But now Democrats are trying to close up those loopholes. And these sheriffs are now escalating. They're escalating their revolt against the Democrats because they're trying to basically make it impossible for sheriffs to work with ICE at all to protect the community from illegal immigrants. But also on top of that, they're trying to force local law enforcement to record ICE and their interaction. So they can't work with ICE, they can't help ICE, they can't interact with ICE. And then on top of that, they're going to be forced to record ICE in their actions, which is something that these local sheriffs are, again, revolting against. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and get into this clip so we can learn a little bit more about the lunacy of the Democrats and the response from the sheriffs. So without further ado.
I just bought this egg. And in this egg, there's 2 cookies. I never bought this before. Nice. All day. All right, let's keep watching.
Let's get into it.
Bills in Maryland are facing fierce opposition from local sheriffs. They argue the proposed restrictions and new recording requirements could strain already limited resources. Fox 5's chief legal correspondent Katie Barlow live tonight in Annapolis to explain. Hi, Katie.
Hi, Kenneth. One of these bills would actually require local law enforcement officials to respond essentially when they're notified of an immigration enforcement action taking place in their jurisdiction. And then when they get on scene, record and document the interaction. The other bill would further limit local law enforcement's ability to engage in
waste money recording bullshit or recording people getting locked up. Why didn't we do that with regular people getting locked up? Why we got to only record illegals? What is this?
certain immigration-related activities. And the sheriffs showed up for today's hearing both to testify in opposition of the bill, but they spoke briefly ahead of time saying they just don't have the manpower to comply with some of these new requirements.
Interpreting that bill, 791, as I see it, my people cannot pick up the phone and call ICE You can't provide them a list of arrestees every day. I can't allow an ICE agent to walk into my building. What is wrong with this picture? Marylanders don't want this. It's been, polls across the state have said we don't want this. But people in this room aren't listening.
Senate Bill.
Well, it's not really about what the people want, right? Democrats don't care about that. If they cared about that, they'd be pro voter ID, right? But they're not, because they don't give a damn about what people want. What they give a damn about is just attacking Trump, opposing Trump, protecting illegal immigrants. Again, remember at the State of the Union, when President Trump basically said, hey, stand if you're for the American people over illegal immigrants, Democrats didn't stand. It should tell you everything you need to know. And when you look at local stories like this, what Democrats are doing, what they're pushing, that's a confirmation that from a policy perspective, yeah, Democrats would like to put illegal immigrants over the American people, the safety of the American people. That's what you're saying here.
791 prohibits state law enforcement officials from asking about or investigating a person's citizenship. It also blocks them from detaining or extending a detention for the purpose of investigating citizenship or holding them based on suspicion that the person has committed a civil immigration violation or at the request of federal immigration officials unless presented with a valid warrant. The other bill, Senate Bill 660, would require a law enforcement officer, when notified of an immigration enforcement action, to observe, document, and record the interaction. Senator Chris West, a Republican, pressed the bill's proponents about how this would work given current restraints in law enforcement, particularly in smaller jurisdictions. Proponents of the bill want to avoid what happened in Minneapolis, where U.S. citizens were killed while interacting with ICE agents, and bystander video footage appeared to contradict public statements that were made by federal officials.
Yeah. So basically what Democrats...
They're going to be spending a whole lot of money, taxpayer money, on bullshit.
Trying to do here. This is what they're saying. They're saying, well, liberals are so stupid when they engage in ICE watch that they end up getting themselves killed, which is what happened to Alex Preddy and Renee Good, right? They were engaged in ICE watch, right? Watching ICE, recording their actions, okay? What they call them, legal observers. So Democrats say, liberals are so stupid that they can't do this without getting themselves killed. Let's make sheriffs do it, right? Let's take manpower, okay, away from fighting actual crime and have sheriffs record ICE. That's what they're proposing here. Now, again, this is silly for so many reasons, because one of the stated reasons why they say, well, we don't want to allow sheriffs to cooperate with ICE is because we don't have the resources, right? It takes up resources for the sheriffs to cooperate with ICE. But yet they don't mind using those same resources that they claim they were concerned about as an excuse to not allow them to work with ICE. They don't mind using those same resources in order to force sheriffs to record the actions of ICE. How does that make sense? It doesn't make sense, because it's not about the resources. It's about just not wanting to have immigration enforced in this country at all. No immigration laws enforced in this country at all. That's what it's about. They don't want any mass deportations. They don't want anybody deported. This is why when you ask them, hey, who should be deported, they can't answer the question.
It's so crazy that they don't want people deported, that they don't want to spend money for the citizens, how it should be. Anybody illegal, you're breaking the law. We got to go. Peace.
Administration cannot be trusted, and they can be trusted to hold themselves accountable. Even after the killing of Alex Preddy and Renee Good, they didn't want to share information about what was happening, which is why we have to abolish ICE. We have to abolish the Customs and Border Patrol in the way that they currently exist and replace them with something that actually does the work that we need for them to do, which is why we need a Congress that works and that is effective at holding these people in this administration accountable. I'll tell you what the work is not. The work is not killing American citizens.
You said the work we
in
need
our
them to do. I'm interested in your opinion. What is the work that we need them to do?
Absolutely. One, the work is not killing American citizens.
No, what is the work we need them to do?
Well, first, let's look at what they don't need to do. They don't need to go into communities like Memphis,
Do they need to deport illegal aliens?
where they're currently terrorizing and traumatizing our communities. What we also need to make sure is that we have elected officials who are creating a pathway of opportunity for people who are currently undocumented.
Do we need a federal law enforcement agency to deport illegal aliens, yes or no?
We do need a federal law enforcement agency that deals with immigration, that doesn't kill people.
To deport illegal aliens,
what we
yes
do
or no?
also need is laws that make sure that people
Is
who
there
are
a single illegal alien
undocumented-
that you would deport?
You know, this is what I want you to focus
one.
on.
Is there
what I
one?
want you to focus on. There are a lot of people in this country and in this community, in our communities, that have done so much to make them better, and we need to be prioritizing
So the
how
answer
we
is
create
no.
opportunity.
Is this the Democratic position for 26?
The
That there are
Democratic
no
position
illegal
in
aliens that should be
26, the
deported?
Democratic position in 26 is that we don't terrorize American citizens. We don't terrorize undocumented
If you were
people,
advising
and we
Democrats in
don't kill
26, would you
people
advise them
like
to
Alex
answer this
Preddy
question
and
this
Renee
way,
Good?
that you can't say there is a single illegal alien that should be deported by the federal government?
What is shocking to me is that you think you can narrow the challenges of
It's not narrow, it's broad.
immigration.
There's 20 million
that you can
here.
challenge the issues of immigration into one yes or no question, when the reality is the
Yo,
policies
what's
and
going
practices
on?
Yo, what is Daniel eating? Yo, what are you eating, bro?
What she gave him. It is or should be obvious that the Democratic Party do not want to be honest with Americans.
Well, the law is the yes or no question.
administration have led to the deaths of American citizens and has not produced the results. that
No
we want.
deportations. That's the Democratic position.
Yes, that is a Democrat position. And stories like this are a great example of that.
All right, I'm going to pause it there because I've been on there long enough. My son Ethan is here. So let's move on to see what the hell we're going to eat today. All right, hopefully you enjoy. Give this video a like, a thumbs up. Let me move on in life. Ethan, how was school today?
I gotta let him eat in peace. I gotta let him eat.
How was school today? I need a haircut. And I need a better camera. This is the best we got. I'm gonna do like Jim Jones and build a media empire. All right. With that said, see you on the next video. Peace. I gotta come up with a better outro. With that said, see you in the next video. Peace. What I gotta do? Ethan. Ethan. All right. Ethan.
¿Qué pasa, amor?
¿Tú pusiste eso bien?
Claro, lo aprendí. Ya que venía hasta aprendida dando.
¿Está tirando calor? Me está dando el olor de la carne. Hay que voltearla. Afro-Latinas. Hay que voltearla la carne. I can still talk. Let me change the channel. They're going to give this guy a haircut. Let's take a look. Salud. All right. With that said, I'm gonna be happy that I can still talk, I can still move my finger, I can still walk. That's insane. So shout out to Ocrivas, which is working, keeping me on my feet, staying happy. Lucky to be alive. Look at the haircut they gave it this guy. I need a haircut. How come he gets a haircut? I need a haircut. My man. All right. So I'm not a big fan of the current political narrative out there. The fact that I had to dig it out the mud on my own. I am where I am. Not following trends. Because that trend of the hip hop music and keeping it real, fighting those in power, which was way off. Got me in a lot of trouble, but it didn't destroy me. The only bad thing that destroyed me was getting married for a second time, which I am still going through a divorce, so I think I can survive that era. Still in the preliminary phase. I can't say the word. Preliminaries phase. Now, today in March, well, we're still in February. Hopefully, by July, in a couple of months, 2 to 3 months, I should have a better clue as to where I stand. Let me go figure out how to collect my debts and put them on blast. All right, I'm going to get out of here. Peace.